The sirens don't start gently. They tear through the night like something alive, violent, mechanical, inescapable. Imagine this. You're standing on a cold London street in 1940, the air thick with fog, the kind that clings to your coat and settles in your lungs. A moment ago, everything felt normal. Quiet footsteps, distant chatter, the faint hum of a city trying to sleep. And then suddenly everything changes. That sound, the siren, cuts through your chest before it even reaches your ears. People freeze. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they do. In the next few minutes, everything you see, every building, every street, every familiar face, could be gone. And the terrifying part? This wasn't a one-time event. This was London, every single night. Now imagine living like this. Not for a day, not for a week, but for months. This is the story of London during World War II, specifically the Blitz, a relentless bombing campaign that turned one of the world's greatest cities into a battlefield. But this isn't just a story about destruction. It's a story about fear, survival, resilience, and something far more powerful than bombs. Because while the skies rained fire, something else was being forged on the ground, something unbreakable. To understand the Blitz, you have to go back to a quieter time. London in 1939 wasn't a city expecting apocalypse. It was alive, markets buzzing, buses rolling through crowded streets, men in suits rushing to work, newspapers filled with tension but not yet terror. There was unease, yes. Europe was shifting. Germany, under Adolf Hitler, was expanding aggressively. But for the average Londoner, war still felt distant, like a storm you could see on the horizon but hoped would change direction. That illusion shattered in September 1939. Britain declared war on Germany. And while the declaration was immediate, the fear crept in slowly. At first, there was what many called the phony war. Weeks passed. Then months. No bombs. No chaos. Just anticipation. People prepared shelters. Gas masks were distributed. Windows were reinforced. But deep down, many wondered, would it actually happen? Then came 1940. The first major bombings didn't just target buildings, they targeted certainty. The Luftwaffe, Germany's air force, began a sustained assault on Britain, and London became the primary target. Night after night, wave after wave of bombers crossed the English Channel, carrying explosives designed not just to destroy infrastructure, but to break morale. The nights became something else entirely. Darkness wasn't just darkness anymore, it was a cover. The city would go black during blackout hours, every light extinguished to avoid detection. But it didn't matter. The bombers still came. Picture the sky above London. Not stars, searchlights. Not silence, engines. Not peace, explosions. Buildings collapsed like they were made of paper. Streets disappeared under rubble. Fires spread faster than they could be controlled. Entire neighborhoods turned into infernos. And yet, beneath the chaos, life didn't stop. Thousands of people took shelter in the London Underground. Platforms meant for trains became temporary homes. Men sat shoulder to shoulder, wrapped in blankets, trying to sleep through the distant thunder of bombs hitting the city above. The ground would shake. Dust would fall from the ceiling. But they stayed, because going outside was worse. Above ground, firefighters worked without rest. Imagine standing in front of a burning building while bombs are still falling around you. That was their reality. They weren't just fighting fire, they were fighting time, fear, and exhaustion. Many didn't make it. And then there were the civilians, the ordinary men who became something extraordinary simply by surviving. Clerks, shopkeepers, laborers, all thrown into a world where survival depended on instinct. One moment you're reading a newspaper. The next, you're digging through rubble with your bare hands, hoping to find someone alive. One of the most powerful images from this time is St. Paul's Cathedral. Surrounded by smoke. Bombs falling nearby. Fires raging across the city. And yet, it stood. Almost untouched. It became more than a building. It became a symbol. A message. London was still standing. But survival came at a cost. Homes were lost. Families were separated. Entire communities were erased overnight. And yet, something remarkable happened. Instead of breaking, people adapted. They shared what little they had. Food, shelter, hope. Strangers became allies. Fear became determination. This is where leadership played a critical role. The voice of Winston Churchill echoed through radios across the country. His speeches weren't just words, they were fuel. We shall never surrender. That wasn't just a statement. It was a mindset. And it spread. Factories worked around the clock. Aircraft were built faster than they were destroyed. Pilots, many barely out of their teens, took to the skies in defense of their country. The Battle of Britain wasn't just fought in the air. It was fought in every street, every shelter, every decision to keep going. And slowly something began to shift. The bombings didn't stop immediately, but their impact changed. The same explosions that once caused panic now sparked resistance. The same sirens that once froze people in fear became signals to act. The city adapted. It learned. By 1941, the intensity of the Blitz began to decrease. Not because the danger disappeared, but because London had endured. It had taken everything the enemy could throw at it, and it was still there. The aftermath wasn't pretty. The city was scarred. Entire areas reduced to rubble. But where there had once been destruction, there was now movement. Rebuilding began almost immediately. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Men returned to work. Streets were cleared. Shops reopened. Life, slowly, stubbornly returned. But the most important thing that survived wasn't the buildings. It was the spirit. Because what the Blitz proved wasn't just that London could withstand bombs. It proved that resilience isn't about avoiding destruction. It's about continuing in spite of it. And that's what makes this story timeless. Because even today the question remains, how do people endure the unthinkable? The answer isn't found in grand strategies or powerful weapons. It's found in small human moments. A man helping another out of rubble. A shared meal in a shelter. A voice on the radio reminding you not to give up. That's what carried London through its darkest hours. And that's why, when you look at the city today, busy, modern, alive, it's not just a place. It's a testament. A reminder that even in the face of overwhelming destruction, people can rebuild. Not just structures, but hope. So the next time you hear a distant siren or see old footage of war, remember this. Behind every explosion there were lives. And behind those lives, there was resilience. Because London didn't just survive World War II. It refused to fall.